Okay, it's like 2 o'clock. You guys are propped up on a coffee maker and the lighting is horrible, but I want to sit down and sort of give you as brief as possible overview of my doctor's appointment this morning. We've been seeing our 4th doctor, our 4th clinic since July, and we obviously had the karyotyping test done on both Brad and I, and that both came back normal. So that's not a cause for our miscarriages. We've been sort of back and forth with them, trying to see if they were willing to do any other kind of testing to help figure out what's causing or potentially causing our miscarriages. And at this point, we just got the vibes that they aren't really willing to do anything else except for one thing, and it's not a definitive thing that really could benefit me. It's basically called a receptivity test, an ERA, and it's often for people who have implantation issues that are not implanting, the embryo's not implanting during after the transfer. 5 of my 7 transfers have been successful as far as implantation. We've gotten pregnant. They just haven't stuck around for longer than almost 3 months. So that's really not an issue, and that's why she was sort of hesitant to even do it, because she doesn't think implantation's my issue. In the meantime, obviously I found this other clinic. One of the biggest questions was, is IVF even feasible right now with my back? And the current IVF doctor that we've been working with was on board. She was willing to move forward and try. That was probably like the biggest question that I had for this new potential clinic before I got into, okay, well, what will you do to try to figure out what's causing our pregnancy losses? And they too are on board. I knew in my heart right then and there that I probably would end up switching, or we would probably switch to this new clinic, especially since I confirmed what I thought, and that is they would test for natural killer cells. And that's one of the tests I've been asking every clinic, every doctor, will you test me for this? There's a lot of debate still in the IVF community whether or not it's a definitive reason for causing miscarriages, but there's enough evidence that some clinics are obviously testing and treating for it. And that was one of the first things that they brought up, is that they would test me for that. Like, that was like right off the bat, like, if you haven't been tested for that, we're going to test you for that right away. And I found out the cost is like so inexpensive. It's like between $60 to $80 out of pocket. Like, it's not an expensive test. So it's just frustrating that the previous 4 clinics were not willing to do it, but now this clinic is. And even though I haven't talked to Brad about everything that was discussed this morning, I know in my heart he's going to be on the same page, and that is, we're going to cut all ties with this 4th clinic that we were seeing since July, and we're going to move on to clinic number 5 as of now. There's a lot of other things they would like to check off the list, some that they are okay with us not doing, and some that they would prefer us to do. It's just going to come down to cost. If you guys know anybody going through infertility, you yourself or anybody or anyone who has, you know it's very expensive. And a lot of things are not covered by insurance. Some things aren't covered by insurance at all, even if you have IVF, coverage with insurance, and not everybody has IVF coverage with insurance, which stinks, but that's a whole other topic. So we're gonna have to make some choices as to which tests we're going to be willing to do and which procedures we're willing to do. But at the same time, the doctor was very nice and so like patient with me with answering all of my questions that I had, and just very thorough with our call today. I just was so appreciative of that. I just felt so at ease, even though it's overwhelming just in general. But it's overwhelming because you're at this stage, especially with Brad and I, that we've just dealt with so much loss, and we've been trying for almost 11 years. It'll be 11 years at the end of this month that we've been trying to start a family. And it's been about, what, since 2014 that we started doing infertility treatment to try to start a family. And we've been through so much. And it was just so nice hearing the thorough responses to the questions that I had. And the doctor didn't seem like impatient or frustrated that I kept asking questions. Like, they just felt so genuine, you know? The good thing about this clinic is, even if we don't do the 3 other tests besides the natural killer cell test, which is a total of 4 things they want to try to do, because of our history, they basically would treat me as if I came back positive with those other tests. So in essence, we technically don't have to spend the money unless we want to be really definitive with the results. Because I basically got the impression from the doctor that the treatment for those things, the medicine and that kind of stuff, wouldn't harm me if we decide not to do the test to find out, if that makes sense. So like, we could be treated for it without really having the test. So it would be expensive as far as the treatment goes. Like, there's 2 different types of infusions that I would have done, and from what I'm gathering, like, they're like a couple $1,000s. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff we have to research. There's a lot of discussions to be had, but I just feel like I'm in a good spot. I feel like I'm in a really good spot as far as the next steps. And it's crazy to say that one way or the other we're gonna try. Sorry, I hate getting emotional. It's just been a very long 11 years. And I know this is our last chance as far as us trying our embryos that we have left. And it's just it's just overwhelming. It's good news. It's good news today. But even though like it's good news, it's still just like very emotional. It's so emotional. It's such an emotional journey to be on this journey to baby. And while in my heart I knew that IVF could possibly not be an option, knowing that both doctors that we've spoken to, you know, recently are on board, like, that makes me happy. Don't get me wrong. I know that doing IVF and these other potential treatments may not result in a pregnancy, and it may not result in a bring home baby, but just knowing that we have the chance to at least try our last 4 embryos, that gives me hope. And at least I don't have to, and at least, well, I should say, at least we don't have to make the hard decision to donate our embryos to science. Like, at least we can try. I mean, Lord willing, if our first transfer is successful, it's gonna still be hard to donate those last remaining embryos, whatever number that is, to science. But I think in my heart it would be easier, you know, if we had our baby. But I'm not gonna think about that right now, even though I am. But I mean, transfer's potential is potentially sometime the end of this year. Like, that's crazy to think. That is if we don't do all the testing and procedures. So if we do decide to do some of them, it could take longer, but even beginning of next year is not that far away. Not that I'm wishing the months to go by fast or anything, but in the grand scheme of things, we haven't tried anything IVF since 2019. So just a few months, it's not that long. It's not that long to wait. Even though I've said before, days feel like weeks, weeks feel like months, months feel like years. In the grand scheme, it's not that long. So obviously, there's a lot of what ifs right now and a lot of figuring out what we want to do, what we financially can afford to do, and go from there. Obviously, I'm gonna get that blood test done, the natural killer cells, which I've been wanting to have done for so long. I'm gonna get that done right away when we get home. It's so inexpensive. And if it comes back fine, that's good. Like, you know, it's one more thing checked off the list. But if it comes back high, meaning not good, then that could be a possible reason for us miscarrying. I don't know. I know I have to talk to Brad about everything, but I know we're gonna be on the same page. You know, we have been. It's been hard to get to this point as far as, should we even try? Could we even try? And hearing both doctors say that yes, it's possible. Could my back still end up being a potential reason to miscarry if we get pregnant? Yeah. But I'm willing, Brad's willing, and our doctors are willing to try. And I think in my heart, knowing that we can try, that's all that matters right now. I know it may not result in a bring home baby. Will it break my heart? Will it break Brad's heart? But the unknown of not trying, I think that would have been much, much harder. We'll see. I don't know. I'm ready for that next step if that means adoption. But knowing that we can at least try is just so amazing. So amazing. Going through this journey doesn't feel so alone, even though I'm not alone. Brad's here with me. Obviously he's at work, but you know what I mean. And God's with us. But this journey's not easy. Infertility for anyone is not easy. But those struggling with trying to have their first child, whether it's through adoption or infertility treatments, it's so hard. I don't wish this on anyone. And knowing that we have a new clinic that's willing to do these additional tests just gives me so much hope for the future. It may not result in what we want, but at least there's hope. At least there's hope. So thanks to listening to my heart. Thanks for being here on this journey. Whether you're going through it yourself or you have gone through it, or you know someone who has or who is going through it, or you're just here for support. I appreciate y'all so much, more than you know. See y'all in the next one.